So, welcome everyone to this week's Etch Play live show. We're going to kick off the news this week with Adam's new favourite game, Forza Horizon 4. I don't know if you've seen this now. It's coming to Steam. It's going to be on Steam on March the 9th. It's currently on Game Pass, which is what Adam's been playing it on, and it is going to have crossplay. So if you get it on Steam, you can play with the people playing on Xbox and on Game Pass. And what's going
Sorry,
on with
yeah,
the
I was
video?
messing with the screens and it pinned to the side and threw you all out. Sorry about that.
Okay, we'll be back. Just getting my face off. What's going on? I'm the star of this show. Get me
Yeah.
back on the video. But yeah, so it's going to come to Steam, and this seems to be a trend that Microsoft are going down at the moment. They've already put things like Gears 5, Sea of Thieves, the Master Chief Collection from Halo onto Steam. So it seems like they're being more open with their IP, and yeah, exciting to see Forza Horizon 4 going on. Adam loves it. Have you played it before?
Forza Horizon, I have, yeah. It is very good. It's one of those games that I really enjoyed and I played a little bit of, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to play more of this, and I haven't. But yeah, definitely want to get back into that.
Yeah, I want to give it a try. I can't remember which one it was, either Forza Horizon 2 or Forza Horizon 3. When I bought a second Xbox 360, that was the game that came with it. So I played that a lot, but yeah, haven't played it recently. But I'd say I'd pick it up on Steam, but I'm probably going to play it on Game Pass. But if you're a Steam fan, you can get it on Steam. Next is news which I'm sure you'll be happy about, Dan, because you love events. E3 is confirmed as coming back this year. I was reading that they haven't fully scrapped the plan of it possibly being physical, but they're definitely planning for it to be digitally. And I've read that it's looking like it's going to be done across potentially 3 days from June 15th to June 17th. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes in the digital world. I think chances are, with the way the world is still currently, it's likely to still be digitally, and I think they'll be lucky if they manage to pull off a physical event. But here's hoping. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. They've said that they're having good conversations with publishers and developers, and there's going to be more news coming out about it in the coming weeks and months. But yeah, you must be excited for this coming back. I know you love your video game events.
Yes, yeah, just seeing the event calendar start to kind of have a go at re-emerging is really interesting. I was having a conversation the other day, and somebody raised a really interesting point that sort of in all previous years before lockdown and the kind of upheaval of all events, on the industry side of things, any connections, any conversations, there's a very common, oh yeah, well we'll catch up at E3, at GDC, or whatever the next big event is, and obviously that hasn't happened. So there's been an element of kind of a change of the dynamic in the fact that people are perhaps being a bit more responsive or having those conversations sooner because they've not got that milestone to wait for. So it'll be interesting to see if that sort of if things fall back into that, or if we've kind of embraced this new less milestone heavy world. And yeah, definitely keen to see what impact E3's return will have.
Just say hello to a few people who joined us in the chat. Pete said he's only 3 minutes late. That is pretty good for Pete.
That's
Hi Emma. Hi Ruby Yeti. Yeah, the beard is getting quite long. Although it's not quite grey enough to be Gandalf yet. Although maybe this time next week if
we're
if we
working
stay
on
as
it.
busy as we are. But that's good. And hi Wolfie Zero. Yeah, no, it's the two Dans. I'm back. The star of the show is
Sorry,
back
my
on the
fault.
screen. Next in the news, a bit of an odd one. The game Terraria was coming to Stadia. I always say it wrong. I said it wrong once, and I keep getting picked up for it. And now I'm in my head about which way it is. So I'll just say both. It looks like that's been cancelled now. There seems to be an odd dispute going on where the game developers have complained that they've been kicked out of their Google account essentially for over 3 weeks. They've been given no reason. They say as to why that they don't feel like they've broken any terms of the agreement. So they're assuming that Google just want to burn that bridge and the game won't be coming there. It's a bit of an odd one, but it seems like if you were waiting for that game to come to Stadia, that's looking unlikely to happen now. But yeah, just a bit of an odd one. It seems to be unfolding on Twitter, which, as we all know, is the perfect place to resolve all world issues. But yeah, bit of an odd one there, and hopefully it's just a misunderstanding and nothing serious between the two companies. But yeah, just
It is interesting when you have such a large organization as Google, Google and their platforms and their accounts and everything else, even Terraria is a hugely popular game, very popular on PC, and even such a significant entity as those folks can get the cold shoulder from such a large organization as Google. It'd be interesting to see how that one unfolds.
Yeah, and not great news for Stadia. Being last week, we were just saying about their internal studios being shut down, and it just seems to be not the greatest of PR and press couple of weeks for them after it was looking so promising with the news that they were going on to the LG TVs as a built-in app. So yeah, one to watch, and we'll see what happens there. Game delays are back. We haven't had one on the show for a while, but it's been said that Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 are both delayed. There's been no release window given by Activision Blizzard. It was confirmed in their earnings call the other day. But those two games, if you're waiting for them, they're not coming this year. Maybe next year if you're lucky, but it seems like, it doesn't seem it's definitely not happening this year. So don't know whether that's, again, the Cyberpunk effect of they don't think it's ready, so they don't want to go out too soon, or whether it's a COVID impact. They haven't really specified too much, but
Yeah, it's definitely a lot going on with game delays in recent times. Obviously, we've seen quite a few over the past few months, and completely understandably with lockdown. But we've also seen, like you're saying, kind of the cyberpunk reaction. So there's more reason to kind of succumb to a delay, and then you also have the momentum of, well, if they've done it, it's all right for us to do it. It's kind of less of a negative view to do it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how long these delays keep having the knock-on effect for.
Yeah, eventually we're going to have a year where there's going to be so many games we're not going to know what to do when they all eventually come out. And no one's going to play them because everyone's going to be outside when they can go outside.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure won't be the case. I'm sure millions of people are going to be playing these games. Speaking of millions of people playing games, GTA 5 has reached 140 million units shipped. So they passed that milestone. It's when it gets onto the next gen consoles, that game will officially have had more Xboxes than I've had, coming out on the Xbox 360 and on the PS3. And actually, it was reported that in 2020, it was the year that sold the most copies of the game other than the release year,
Wow.
which is quite phenomenal that it's still going that strong. We'll kind of touch on that later in our topic when we talk about long life games. It's a great example of a long life game that is still going strong. Why do a GTA 6 when everyone's still buying and playing GTA 5?
Yeah.
Big milestone, and congrats to them.
Yeah, they've probably finished GTA 6. They're just waiting for everyone to stop buying GTA 5 so they can release it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not the case.
No, probably not. Another acquisition news again this week. EA have acquired Glue Mobile. They have 800 employees, 500 of which are developers, and this is, I think, a signal of intent by EA to get more into the mobile space. They've said this acquisition doubles their mobile business. Obviously, we're well aware it's a huge area in the video games industry. It's a huge area of growth. So them acquiring Glue, I think, as I said, marks their intent to grow their visibility in that space and increase their revenue that way. Glue, if you don't know, they have a wide portfolio of games. They've done Deer Hunter, MLB Top Baseball, and Kim Kardashian Hollywood. So hitting a variety
all your favorites.
There. All my favorites, in reverse order of favorites. The last one I said was my most favorite game. What else have we got in the news? In very negative news, as I'm sure quite a few people probably seen, CD Projekt Red were hit at the beginning of the week by a cyber attack, and they actually published the ransom note that they were given. The hackers are claiming to have got access to their servers, their source code, HR files, finance details, investor details. So really sensitive stuff. It's apparently been, the source code has been auctioned off on the dark web apparently, and analysts are saying that they think it seems serious, like it's a serious auction for the code. So that's really, really horrible news for them, and I'm sure they're doing all they can quell that. But yeah, it's just not news that you like to see.
No, I did admire their stance, and yeah, like I said, they just published the ransom now, and kind of being in that position to say, no, we're not going to entertain this. Yeah, we've had a problem here. Hands up, and they couldn't. I'm sure they're not short of problems that they're dealing with over there at the moment. So.
No, but yeah, really disappointing to see that. And they put the tweet out on the 9th, and it said the ransom note referenced 48 hours. So whether we find out any more news later on in the week, we'll see what happens there. But fingers crossed, hoping for the best for CD Projekt Red and doesn't impact them or anyone personally too badly.
Yeah, I believe they did say no sort of player personal information has been breached. It is just the just the source code to one of the most highly anticipated games in modern times.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Halo, we spoke earlier about the Master Chief Collection and that had been put onto Steam. The developers are hinting that it's going to be available to play somewhere else, and people aren't exactly sure what that means or where it's going to be. People are thinking it would be great to see it on the Epic Game Store. A few more hopeful fans are thinking the Nintendo Switch. Not so sure that that's going to be the case for the Switch. Epic Game Store feels more realistic, and I would say obviously PS5 and Stadia are probably out of the question. It's not likely to be there. Or alternatively, it could be on xCloud, which is Microsoft's platform. So they haven't really specified when this is going to be announced, and I think they did say things are due to change. So kind of teased us with there might be somewhere else to play it, but watch this space and we'll see if you can play the Master Chief Collection somewhere other than Steam or on the Xbox or PC Game Pass.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to kind of tease because yeah, the kind of real surprising ones, like I say, would have been Switch or PlayStation, Stadia, xCloud. It's like, okay, yeah, that would be cool, but that's not like super surprising. Epic Game Store or Steam would be interesting, but when you kind of tease, you entertain the idea that it could be something really different. But yeah, keeps their news cycle going, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll finish the news section before we talk about your games for good news story this week with the two things which are kind of semi-related and feeds nicely into the discussion we're going to have after me and Adam have played some Haven. So the first one is Ubisoft have said that after this financial year, they are moving their business model focus away from AAA releases. They're going to put more emphasis on their previously released titles and doing long life support for them, and on free-to-play games, which obviously with the free-to-play games, there's huge potential, as we know, in the market for generating revenue through microtransactions in those games. So they've said this year their plan is 3 AAA games. After that, the business model is going to shift. So we're likely to see less big titles coming out from Ubisoft and more focus put onto their older games. Which on the flip side, again, which is in the balance of whether it's going to try and become a long life game, is Anthem from EA. It's been rumored that the fate of that game is going to be decided in the next couple of days. EA have said they're not commenting on speculation, but they haven't denied it. Didn't get off to a great launch. I think it was 2019 it came out, and essentially what's being reported is they're weighing up whether to kill that game or whether to try and salvage it and keep it alive. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Anthem. As I say, after the pre-recorded segment, me and Dan are going to discuss a little bit more about the challenges that come with trying to have a long life game, some success stories, some things that have redeemed themselves. So stick with us for that. And Dan, you wanted to talk about something from Yuki, I believe, just before we go to the pre-recorded segment.
Yes, there is a national campaign happening at the moment, referred to as Devices for All, which is a campaign to help bridge the digital divide. And there's a real focus on trying to get sort of the access to laptops for more and more people across the country. Obviously, particularly necessary at the moment. I'm going to pop a link into the chat so you can find out more about that. But we're just basically Yuki encouraging organizations to pledge your old laptops to make sure that those who would really benefit from them can get hold of them. So I think that's a really great initiative from Yuki, and a good sort of call to arms for the games industry. We as an industry rely on the latest, most powerful machines, and there's certainly no shortage of I'm sure store cupboards piled high with slightly older generation tech that could go to a very well-deserving home. So yeah, do give that a look, and I think that's great work from Yuki on that.
Cool. Thanks for that, Dan. Yeah, really great work by Yuki, as always. And yeah, Dan's popped the link in the chat, so check that out if you can. And now we're going to throw to the pre-recorded segment. It's, as some of you may know, it's Valentine's Day at the weekend, and is becoming mine and Adam's yearly tradition. We're going to check out a romance-themed game to celebrate. So enjoy that. Stick with us. Once that's done, me and Dan are going to be chatting about long life games. So we'll see you very soon.
Ben Joy, welcome to the video. It's time for love, Ben.
It's always time for love.
It's time for love always, but it's especially time for love this week because it's Valentine's Day on Sunday. We're recording this video, and you're probably seeing this during the live show or watching us on YouTube. Happy Valentine's Day! Hey. This is Haven, and like all good games about love, it starts with anime.
Of course.
The essential ingredient in love is...
It really is.
Animated. Look, they're having a little kiss. Probably. Yeah, there they go.
Yep.
So predictable.
To be honest, if this is even half as good as last year's I Love You, Colonel Sanders that we did on Valentine's Day, I'm going to enjoy it because that was incredible.
I'm going to want to be honest with you, Ben. I don't think it's going to be that good. I think we peaked.
Oh.
I think we peaked a long time ago.
Peaked too early. Story of my life.
But this is Haven. This is available on Game Pass. This is actually the Xbox Series X version. And this is a game about love. It's a game about two people. They are in a relationship. Look, they're hugging already. You can see that. And to be honest, I feel like there's a lot of deep lore in this game that I'm maybe not fully understanding. But they live in what I would describe as space. Like they seem to be in space to me, or like another planet, like another world. And they live together, they work together, they cook together, and they're on the run. That's critical. That that heightens the emotions that they're feeling.
It does. That's always a good recipe for romance. Being on the run together. That always happens in the films.
Yeah. So you can see this is our. It's like a half spaceship, half house that they live in. It's like a spaceship that you live in, like a space house.
A space house. Yeah.
A space house. And you kind of play as both characters, so neither one of them is you. You kind of switch back and forth between them. But we've got you, who is the woman, and Kay, who is the guy.
Didn't we have that yesterday?
He's making food. Preparing maybe a traditional Valentine's Day meal.
Yeah, baked apple juice. Yeah, that is traditional. Sorry, Pad.
Obviously, cooking or doing actions of love is one of the love languages that people associate with psychology. Is that big in your love language? Are you?
I mean, I love food, so
that's the way to your heart.
Yeah.
Someone bake an apple juice for Ben, and he'll be yours.
I'm yours.
Otherwise, I'd be eating, I guess.
So a lot of the game plays out like this, where you just have these kind of conversations, kind of a graphic novel style, that you kind of cycle through, and you do get to make some choices.
I should be able to fix that real quick.
Every now and then. So yeah, here's an example. I can choose awesome, or I can choose I also have some good news. I'll choose that one.
What's that?
What's my good news? Good news, and I love you. Happy Valentine's Day.
I mean, if that's not good news, then this game's taking a turn.
Oh, okay, it's getting a little bit saucy.
Is this safe for work?
Oh no, kids, turn off. I'm gonna have to reclassify our YouTube channel as 18+.
I didn't do that.
I didn't mean to do it, Dan. Please don't fire me.
Weren't you supposed to charge up the nest today?
So the nest is the name of the spaceship that we're living in.
Okay, the space house.
The space house. Love in Space House. That's the.
If I'm lucky,
That's what they should have called the game.
They should have called the game. Haven is a terrible name for Love in Space House. And then
They
this,
say apple juice a lot. Like there is a lot.
they're
of emphasis
obsessed
on
with
the
apple
juice.
dews. They're obsessed with them. I mean, there's going to be a lot of apple dew references in this video. This is really the start of the game. It's just so if you're wondering, that's why I'm getting a lot of tutorial stuff here. But this is maybe the kind of core of the game, I'd say, is when you're outside the space house. And you can switch back and forth between the two characters at will here. I'm guessing there's a good reason to do so at some point. I haven't really got to that. There's like maybe some puzzle mechanics where you have to be one person rather than the other. But yeah, you can fly. I mean, the power of love.
Nice.
The power of love lets you fly, Ben. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that. Maybe that's why I've never flown. One of these days I'll be flying.
Let's just get in some tutorials here, and then these glowing blue things. This is where I'm like, there are probably fans of Haven out there, and I'm butchering this beloved property of yours, but I don't know what these glowing things are. They call them flow threads. You're supposed to fly through them to collect them.
No, never.
And let's eat some more food. And then this is the main thing you do. You chat, you fly around, and you eat food. Those are the key game.
That's my life. If you take out the love and the flying.
Yeah.
Just eating food. That's my life.
Only one way to find out.
You're right.
It's interesting actually there, you just saw a little like confidence boost thing, so it's like, I've not seen any of the outcomes of those actions, but it implies that there's maybe some, maybe not branching storylines, but there's an impact to choosing certain options, like you can increase people's confidence, make them, I don't know, feel more in love maybe. Oh, there's a blade in my head, that's not in the game.
Lightweight. Off we go. Let's pick these.
So while you're flying around, you can pick fruit, and it's almost exclusively apple juice. And every time you pick one up, they're like, "Oh, more apple juice!" And I'm like, "Get over the apple juice."
Yeah, they seem like they love them.
I think what it is Kay loves the apple juice, and you, the girl, is not keen on the apple juice at all. She hates them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can fly around. I'm not doing a very good job of this.
Yeah,
when you fly,
bad at this.
when you fly through one fully, it like kind of pops off as like a hey.
Well, that was a bust.
No, didn't do that one right either.
No. You are terrible at this.
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing.
love is not my strong point. I'm not good at it.
That's on brand for you.
This is why I had to get you on the stream, because you're our like resident Lothario, resident Casanova, Ben John.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Here we go. Got this one.
That's the one thing people think when they see me is like, yeah, he's a love muffin.
Sorry, what? A love muffin? Might have to edit the video again. Is that safe for work?
I don't know. I feel like it is. Things were popping into my head. It's like not a safe word, not a safe word, not a safe word. It's like
so you went with love muffin.
Yeah.
It's crucial.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know why I say the things that I say. Maybe that's why I'm single.
Maybe.
Just like that.
There we go.
One or two more.
So you're supposed to stay in like the
so you have to fly. You have to start at the right point, which is the bit that's got like the little white tendrils, and then you got to fly through the whole thing, and you got to stay on the line, but you've also got to do it quite quickly. You can't slow down.
Right.
So you slow down at all, then you don't get to. Let's grab these. Oh, it's apple juice again.
Oh yes. Our favourite. What? You only got one? There was loads there. What's going on?
I'm just showing off. How many
You're
apple juice do you need? I mean, I'm literally flying. I've mastered the miracle of flight. What more do you want?
3 apple juice.
Okay, well here's another one.
Yes.
Get
one more and we're at 3.
Boom.
Nice. It just looks like there's more on that tree than one.
There totally is. But
maybe they're not ripe. They're not ripe.
All we need for now is just 3. I think you can go back to them, but I know that you just need 3 to do the recipe that you need for this, because we're going to do some cooking.
All good.
Heck yeah!
Should last us a few days.
So we got some energy from flying through those blue lines, the flow threads, and that powers up the ship. And Yu's hungry, so it's going to be time to cook.
Oh, I see. So that's like a futuristic electric meter.
Yes.
Like basically, you just need to pop a few more threads into the meter to get the lights back on.
So we're just going to combine some apple juice with apple juice to make roasted apple juice. It's the perfect meal. You know, they're
Yeah.
doing things together. This is what Valentine's Day is all about. So we're doing this video together, Ben. This is the romantic for us. People at home.
Yeah,
will be
this
able
is
to
kind
eat
of
this
like
food
a tradition
themselves.
now. Like
Yeah.
our Valentine's date is with each other,
With apple juice.
and I'm okay with
I
it.
can't tell if you're actually excited about this. Or
Well, this
if
is
you just
Haven.
enjoy
Thanks for
seeing
joining
me
us,
suffer.
and we'll see you again on a future Etch Play video. Bye.
And we are back after that romantic journey that you and Adam went on there. And Ben, you're looking rather stunned. I don't know if you were disconnected or if that was your reaction to this segment that we just shared with the folks there. I think we may have lost Ben, so yeah, this is going to be more of a one-sided discussion whilst we wait for Ben to come back. Should we leave the picture of Ben up there? We'll see what happens because you know, we all love a bit of that eye candy. Yeah, Ben's he's gone. I know you get double me. Let's see if we can do something with that, shall we? Bear with me. There we go. We've got me back. I think Ben's rejoining. So here he is. He's
Hello.
back. Hold on.
Sorry about that, I saw you frozen. I was trying to ask you a question just before we came back. I was like, he's sitting very still. Oh no, it's me. Sorry, what did I miss?
You missed me padding, I believe, is what we could
Nice.
call, referring to your frozen image as eye candy.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm more of a love muffin than eye candy, but you know.
Evidently, neither of these apply, but you know.
Yeah, no hearts in the chat for me. Pete got hearts in the chat. Logan got hearts in the chat. I swear, if Ben Gammon comes on next week and he gets hearts in the chat, I'm not
I
going to
mean,
be
Ben
happy.
Gammon would be inundated with hearts in the chat.
Yeah, he
Wouldn't
wouldn't even need to ask. He'd just be getting them.
Should
Anyway,
should we talk about long life games?
yes, let's talk about long life games and the challenges of long life games. So, long life games is something that we talk a lot about. For those that don't know, it's kind of it's what it says on the tin. Long life games is a game which is released and then lives a long time. Essentially, people keep playing it, keep buying it years and years after it's released. So before we start talking maybe about the challenges, Dan, did you want to go through a few like motivators of games that are doing this really well?
Yes, absolutely, and these probably kind of set the tone. There is a industry-wide kind of desire to get one of these holy grails of the gift that keeps on giving. I think the one of the classics would be Minecraft. That has just been around for a long time and just done monumentally well in its many years of tenure. Have you got any stats for us on Minecraft?
I do have stats. As of May 2020, it had sold 200 million copies of the game, and in the previous 12 months, they saw an increase of 24 million extra copies than they had in the last 12 months. So, similar to what we were talking about in the news with GTA having its most successful year, other than the release year. This might not have been Minecraft's most successful year, but it's growing. And that game came out in, now I'm testing my knowledge, 2010?
I think older than that. I mean, it's
Older than that.
it's a difficult one to. I mean, the very first. I think it was originally released as a Java game. I think it released sort of low cost online. Joe's probably the one to fill us in on the details of that. But yeah, it's had a long evolutionary life, and even now, you know, last year I think it was saw the release of Minecraft Dungeons, so the whole brand has built, and you know, there's physical toys, and yeah, really strong legacy behind Minecraft. As you've mentioned, we mentioned in the news, you just mentioned it then, GTA 5. We've just had spanning 3 generations of console now. That's definitely a great example of a long life game, and this term long life games kind of we use as an all-encompassing term for, as you say, games that have been around for a long time. But there are also different strategies for this. You get games which have updates, games which have service side to it. GTA 5 introduced the online element, which has really helped prolong it, as well as surviving long enough to see visual upgrades between console generations. It's had a really successful online offering as well. So yeah, GTA 5. Any other stats on that one, or have we covered all of that already?
I think that's just about it for GTA 5. I blew them all in the news. So
That's all
if
right.
you're late, you'll have to go back and watch the news later.
World of Warcraft, another example, originally released in 2004, and I know saw a recharge resurgence in popularity last year. They had a popular Shadowlands update, but again, 2004. It's going to be as old as you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's making me look young. But yeah, I mean, I know people that took weeks off work to play that when the last update came out. Like, people love it, and I do have some World of Warcraft stats. And anyone feel free to correct me if these are wrong. I collect them and don't massively fact check them. Check them in a few places, and but 113 million players, 113, not 130. Sorry, that was my accent. Players, and about 4.32 million players daily are still playing the game. So yeah, that's a really old game, and still to have that many people playing, still work being put into the game, updates coming out as you mentioned. So yeah, that's a great example of long life game.
Almost 20 years of World of Warcraft, and yeah, still pulling in several million players per day is a heck of an achievement. And of course, it's comparatively a much newer kid on the block, but Fortnite has been around a relatively long time in video game years, which are kind of like dog years, I guess, or something. But yeah, Fortnite. I don't know if you've got any stats on that, but you don't have to look far to find a staggering Fortnite stat.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything too recent. So I think it was as of like 2019, they were at 250 million players. So I would guess they're probably like 350 million now, maybe. And I checked just before we came on the show live, and there was 5.7 million people playing it at that moment. So yeah, like you say, it's compared to some of the other games, it's more reasonably new, but it's growing and has that huge player base years after its launch. And that's an example of a game that kind of changed its dynamic of what it originally was when it came out, and adapted to the market to prolong its life. And clearly that's worked. It's worked a treat.
Yeah,
whatever they did, great decision.
And it's absolutely beginning to sort of transcend even video game norms with their kind of live events and music events. Was it 12 million people viewed the Travis Scott event?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a really good place to draw inspiration from. So those are kind of I guess the examples that have caught the attention of the games industry and kind of made this long life games become a desirable proposition. Not necessarily always knocked out of the park. So there have been a few attempts at this, some less successful than others. One close to our hearts, Fable Legends, as an example, that never even saw release before the sad decision to close down Lionhead, but that was very much eyes on this idea of a games as a service. How can we not just deliver a linear experience, but create something that can continue to evolve? But yep, clearly not a great success. Fallout 76 is one that is still in operation, had a bumpy launch, wasn't particularly well received, but is kind of stuck out there, and has had various updates and I guess varying degrees of interest. So it'll be interesting to see if they can bring that into the limelight at some point, or if it will fade into obscurity. We mentioned it in the news, EA's Anthem. So that is one, personally, when I saw that first time around, when it first was released, I was really interested in the proposition, in the world they were offering, but again, didn't have a particularly great launch, wasn't especially well received, and the developers came out and sort of said, okay, we're going to we're going to look at this and we'll come back to you. And they've been working away. And as you said in the news, it's something that's going to be, I think we're going to find the next steps for Anthem being decided at the moment. As I understand it, there's a much more scaled down team working on it. So who knows if they're going to, sort of reinvigorate it or start to shutter it. And we can't go an episode without mentioning Cyberpunk. Again, very, very much at the early days to see what happened with that. And I don't think it's fair to say that was an unsuccessful launch. Contentious launch for sure. It's definitely had a rocky start, but definitely one that's they will have sold a lot. But we know they've had some real bad press. They've had some real knock-on effects of, not perhaps having the release they want. But I'm sure that's one that's got eyes on for pulling that back in, and it will have updates, and definitely one to watch to see how that pans out.
Yeah, definitely. And as we're going to talk about in a second, it's doable. Like we've said before, like it isn't the end for Cyberpunk. It's going to have a long life ahead of it, but it's not going to be easy. And that's some of the things I guess they're dealing with Anthem now is that it's not easy to keep your game alive. When you hear the success stories of like the GTAs and the Fortnites, and it's kind of like, oh, it's easy, and it's not. There's because you kind of have two strands that you need to focus on to do a long life game. You need to keep your existing players playing, and if you do that through updates which are free, obviously that's not generating more revenue, but you've got the reaching factor that they can bring more people in if they're still playing the game. But you also need to get the new players as well. So you've kind of got two streams of focus when you're trying to make your game last longer, is keeping your existing players happy and enticing enough to bring the new players in. So it's really difficult to do. But you've got some good examples, I believe, of games that have done this really well and maybe come back from, like a Cyberpunk, from a rocky start and really
absolutely. And I think these, we're referring to them as redemption arcs. So games that have perhaps been in that situation, the Cyberpunk, the Fallout, the Anthem situation, and pulled it out of the bag. And one no greater example, I think, than our friends with No Man's Sky. That definitely had a contentious, high-profile launch. A lot of people's expectations not met there, but far and away a out and out success in terms of long life games. Is it 10 updates in that they've had?
More than 10 now. I think they're at 12 or 13. We should know. We work with them on all of them.
Lots of
so
updates.
Many, we can't keep count.
Yeah.
But they've, as I said, they've done that through purely like free updates. There's, if you bought the game on day one, you've not had to pay a penny more to get all of these huge updates. So clearly their strategy is to keep people playing, and they are bringing new players in because obviously with DLCs and the other companies do, which is a perfectly valid strategy. Like that's a revenue model that you can get existing players to put more money in to get upgrades. Whereas in the No Man's Sky example, like every single one of them has been free. So they've, over the last 4 and a bit years, have been working on this game to improve it and extend its life, and not seen any more money coming in from their existing player base. So they're bringing new players in, and that's proven that it's doable. It's difficult and it's a lot of hard work, but you can do it, and it's a perfectly valid way of extending the life of a game.
Absolutely. Another example, Sea of Thieves. Again, I think it's fair to say not the perfect launch. I doubt that was kind of checking off everybody's expectations, but it's still around today. It's still very strong, still gets a lot of attention, and it has built a very loyal and excitable fan base. So I would definitely consider that somebody who's turned it around.
Yeah, they've done, I believe, 5 major updates since it launched in 2018. And something that they did, which I thought was really nice, as I said before, about it's not just keeping people playing, it's getting new players in. At the back end of last year, end of 2020, they, and I think we talked about it in one of our roundups, they opened up this thing called the Pirate Academy, which is kind of like an onboarding tool to get new players into the game, to get them up to speed with how to play it, the best things to do, which I thought was a really nice touch to get people in and playing the game. Because I mean, I often find if I'm behind the curve and it's like, oh, if I now start playing this game, I'm going to be so far behind everyone else. It's going to make it difficult to play. Whereas they were like, here's instructions and a fun way of onboarding people to the game to get the new players in. So again, that's a great example of how you can get new players in and then the updates to keep your existing players happy and engaged with the game. So you can see the two-pronged approach that they're taking
Yeah,
to extend the life.
we talk with all of our clients, the kind of the two main aims, player acquisition and player engagement. How do we keep onboarding new people, and how do we keep our existing player base happy? And as Pete's mentioning in the comments there, they've done a great job for people who perhaps originally bought the game, tried it out, liked it, didn't like it, but they've kept these updates coming and enticed that existing audience back in. And like you said, that Pirate Academy to not make it intimidating to onboard new players is a really good example. Another one, slightly different approach, the Hitman series of games. They were trying something new with the Hitman game model, kind of a somewhat episodic phased release, and I think it's fair to say with the launch of Hitman 1, which was critically very well received but didn't sell the numbers that they wanted to, and it was to the point that the studio ended up doing a management buyout, buying the game. The studio directors bought the studio and the license off of Square Enix, carrying out a Squexit, as I believe they referred to it. And yeah, had to downsize the team, had to really scale back operations, but they've since turned around. They released Hitman 2. They got that out there, very well received, and they've just released Hitman 3, which I believe made its investment back in the first week of release. So that's perhaps, I mean, arguably that's three different games, but it's kind of a single platform, and they've definitely done this whole redemption arc with that, and it'd be interesting to see what how the Hitman franchise evolves from this point, as they've kind of ended the trilogy on a real high. Another example that we mentioned quite a lot last week, and not so much a redemption arc, but more a case of a decent success on launch, but has a few years on really exploded, is Rust, which you mentioned last week. That's been ticking along fine, doing well, but has just exploded as a result of sort of development, evolution, and engagement activity.
Yeah, they went as we spoke about last week, so we won't go too deep into it. But yeah, with what they were doing on Twitch and the influencers to kind of reinvigorate the game and get new eyes on it, has worked a treat for them. So yeah, that's an example of someone who's had a good steady life and is now shooting up again years and years after they launched by trying something different, which has worked really well for them.
And last example, Call of Duty, which is certainly a franchise that's gone nowhere. That's always been a popular title, but their latest release, Black Ops Cold War, has been a huge success for what could easily have been, and I'm sure many people kind of consider it to be a tired franchise. Oh, they release a game every year, but they've certainly had the tailwind of the pandemic and more people generally playing games and engaging with games. But the latest launch attracted 70% more players than last year's iteration. And I think a big factor as well is they have embraced mobile. So the idea of going cross-platform, and the same can be said. Fortnite available on mobile and all major consoles and PC. Likewise, PUBG is another very popular title that's been around for a long time. So another sort of, I guess, tactic there is looking at new audiences, becoming more accessible to wider audiences. So that's I guess a whistle-stop tour of some examples of games doing it right, some failures, various different strategies. So we've seen content being part of the strategy. We've seen leveraging different device platforms, as we said, with Call of Duty and Fortnite going onto mobile, but also platforms in terms of communication channels. So we're talking about Rust leveraging platform capabilities such as Twitch with their drops and things like that. Lots of different approaches, different monetization models. No Man's Sky, here's a bunch of updates, and they see enough uptake in their footprint, their player audience growth to keep doing that, which has been amazing. And as you mentioned, other approaches, paid DLC or the likes of Hitman, paid kind of releases, all different tactics to extend the life of your brand or your game. And any other thoughts from you, Ben?
Yeah, I just think it's going to be interesting to see how people continue to do it, because clearly there is a shift this way. It's it's very expensive to churn out really high quality games, and we've seen over the past year, with delays and rocky launches, that it can be difficult to try and do that quickly. They take a lot of time, and if you can focus on games that you've already released and improving those, where you already have a strong player base that you can build upon, like that is the way forward. We're still always going to see big titles coming out and being worked on, but as we've talked about earlier, like Ubisoft have said, we're changing our strategy to focus on older games. We saw last year that Paradox reported that their 2019 earnings, like 87% of their revenue, came from titles released in a previous year. So it's definitely going to go that way, and I think the more and more it moves that way, people are going to have to get more innovative with the methods that they use to keep people playing their game. Because if everyone's going to start doing this, there's only so many games that you can keep playing and keep picking up. So it's going to be interesting and really exciting to see what people do to keep their games alive, because I think it's really, we're going to see the best of the creative minds start coming out to
I think and I think the point you touched on there about it is making a game is difficult, it's expensive, it takes a long time, but you've also, I guess you can see a bit of the kind of the MVP startup mindset coming in, is actually can we get something smaller out sooner and prove or gauge our audience, and then iterate from there. And maybe there's it'd be interesting to, we've got the Cyberpunks that didn't do that. Obviously they had a long hype cycle and put a lot into their big bang launch, and then perhaps you've got some examples of simpler games, or releasing earlier and then using that as your platform to grow more organically rather than a big bang. And I'm sure we'll see more examples of both approaches. Obviously you're reducing the risk by taking the smaller game approach, but you are sacrificing your opportunity to build hype. But then the more people that build hype and let down their audiences are going to get more and more wary. So maybe you want to reduce that barrier to entry, make less of a splash, but build momentum. Very, very interesting subject. We spend a lot of time researching and discussing it. And
certainly do.
We've demonstrated that today. We should probably think about wrapping this up.
Yes, we could talk forever, so let's stop. Thank you, everyone who has joined us. I apologize for my internet issues at the start of the segment. Thank you for sticking with us. If you know anyone who you think would like this show, we're back every Thursday at 4 p.m., so tell them to come along. And this episode will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, and you can find all our past episodes there as well, as long as a ton of other interviews, us checking out games, so head over there. Or if you just want to say hi, we're on Twitter, so we're at Etch Play on all of the platforms, so come see us there, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you very much.
I don't care what the chat says. I'm a love muffin.
Okay. If you wanna go with that, we'll go with that. We'll update your job title again, shall we?
Yes, we should.